Hi friends, our channel is very close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, and I need your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and be a part of this journey. Your support means the world to me and will help our content reach more people. I hope you enjoy this story. Let's begin. When I first met Clara at a financial seminar in Geneva 15 years ago, I was immediately drawn to her. She was magnetic, her laughter was infectious, and her sharp mind rivaled my own. Together, we were a power couple, climbing the ranks of our respective careers. I built a multi-million-dollar investment firm from scratch, while Clara thrived in luxury event planning. Life felt like a dream, but sometimes, dreams can turn into nightmares. Our family celebrations had always been special. This year, Clara had insisted on hosting it at our Zurich villa, claiming it was a way to showcase our success and bring everyone closer. I had agreed, not realizing the storm that was brewing behind her charming smile. The villa was buzzing with activity. My brother Stefan was helping our father set up a barbecue on the terrace, while my niece Lila chased our Labrador Max across the garden. Inside, Clara was in her element, overseeing the catering staff and ensuring every detail was flawless. She always had an eye for perfection, a quality I once adored. When the doorbell rang, I was the one to answer it. Standing on the threshold was a man who oozed confidence. He introduced himself as Victor, a hotel magnate Clara had met during one of her recent projects. She appeared behind me, her face lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in years. "Victor," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him. "I'm so glad you could make it." Her excitement was infectious, and soon Victor was seamlessly integrated into the party. He had a knack for storytelling, regaling the guests with tales of his glamorous travels. I found myself watching Clara. She hung on his every word, her laughter a little too loud, her touches on his arm a little too frequent. Throughout the evening, small details began to gnaw at me. Victor mentioned a restaurant in Milan, where he and Clara had shared the most exquisite tiramisu. Clara quickly brushed it off as a work dinner, but the intimacy in Victor's tone told a different story. Then there was the matter of his cologne. It was the same scent that Clara had recently bought me, claiming she thought I'd like it. I didn't wear it often, but now I wondered if it was never meant for me. Later, as I helped clear plates, I overheard a fragment of a conversation. Clara and Victor were in the study, their voices hushed. "It's only a matter of time," Victor said. "Relax," Clara replied. "He's too busy to notice." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My wife, the woman I had trusted implicitly, was betraying me. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions and scenarios. Was I imagining things? Or had my marriage been a lie? I decided I needed proof before confronting Clara. Over the next few weeks, I became a silent investigator, piecing together the puzzle of her infidelity. First, I went through our joint credit card statements. Charges for lavish dinners and hotel stays in cities where Clara had claimed to be working on events raised red flags. Next, I checked her email under the guise of helping her with a work-related IT issue. There it was, a string of emails between her and Victor, filled with flirtation and plans for their next rendezvous. The final piece of evidence came from a private investigator I hired. He provided photos of Clara and Victor embracing in a Parisian cafe, looking every bit the couple in love. The betrayal was undeniable. I didn't want to lash out in anger. I wanted to make them feel the weight of their actions. My first move was to secure my assets. Over the course of a month, I transferred funds from our joint accounts into a trust under my name. I also updated the ownership of our villa, ensuring Clara would have no claim to it. Then, I planned a celebration, a grander, more elaborate version of the one Clara had ruined. This time, the guest list included not just family, but influential colleagues and friends from the business world. I wanted witnesses for what was about to unfold. The evening was a spectacle. The villa was transformed into a masterpiece of luxury, with string lights twinkling in the garden and a live pianist filling the air with soft melodies. Clara was visibly excited, oblivious to my intentions. Victor arrived fashionably late, as if to make an entrance, and Clara greeted him with the same enthusiasm as before. As dinner was served, I stood to make a toast. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. "Thank you all for coming," I began. Tonight, we celebrate not just success and family, but honesty. I turned to Clara, who looked puzzled. Clara, you've always said that transparency is the foundation of a good relationship. I couldn't agree more. So tonight, I'd like to share something very transparent with everyone. With a click of a remote, a screen descended from the ceiling. Photos and emails documenting Clara and Victor's affair began to play in a slideshow. Gasps erupted around the room. Clara's face turned ashen, while Victor looked as though he wanted to disappear. But I wasn't finished. Clara, I've taken the liberty of consulting a lawyer. As of last week, our assets are divided. The villa? It's mine. The joint accounts? They're empty. And Victor? I turned to him, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I understand the Swiss authorities are quite interested in the financial discrepancies in your hotels. They should be contacting you shortly. The fallout from that night was as messy as it was inevitable. Clara's immediate reaction had been denial. She tried to argue that the emails were misunderstood and that the photos were taken out of context. But as I laid out the irrefutable evidence, her excuses crumbled. The once confident, composed Clara now stood exposed, vulnerable, and desperate. Her family, who had always adored her, was equally stunned. Her mother, Lydia, pulled me aside that night, her face lined with disappointment. I don't know what to say, Adrian. She's my daughter. But you didn't deserve this. I nodded, too emotionally drained to respond. Lydia hugged me tightly before leaving, and I could see the shame in her eyes. Clara didn't return to the villa that night, or ever. She moved into a small apartment in the city, reaching out to me sporadically in the weeks that followed. Her messages ranged from tearful apologies to angry accusations, swinging wildly between regret and denial. In one message, she blamed the affair on the pressures of our lifestyle, saying she felt overshadowed by my success. In another, she claimed Victor had manipulated her, painting herself as a victim. But I wasn't buying it. The divorce proceedings were swift, thanks to the precautions I had taken. The villa, my investments, and my assets remained mine. Clara walked away with a modest settlement, more than fair considering the circumstances. Victor, on the other hand, wasn't as lucky. The investigation into his fraudulent business practices gained traction quickly. Within months, his hotels were seized, and his reputation was destroyed. The man who had swaggered into my home, acting like he owned the world, was now an afterthought, a cautionary tale. But despite the satisfaction of seeing justice served, the aftermath wasn't easy. The betrayal had left a deep scar. I found myself questioning everything: my judgment, my ability to trust, even my sense of self-worth. Nights were the hardest. The silence of the villa felt deafening. Memories of happier times with Clara haunted me, a painful reminder of what I thought we had. Healing wasn't a straight line. It rarely is. At first, I threw myself into work, expanding my investment firm and taking on new challenges to fill the void. But no amount of professional success could fully erase the pain. It wasn't until I started focusing on myself, not just as a businessman, but as a person, that I began to truly heal. I hired a therapist, someone who helped me unpack the emotional weight of Clara's betrayal. Through those sessions, I realized something profound. Clara's actions weren't a reflection of my worth. They were a reflection of insecurities and flaws. For too long, I had blamed myself for not seeing the signs, for not being enough. But the truth was, no one could have prevented what happened. Clara had made her choices, and those choices had consequences. I began reconnecting with the people who mattered most, my family and close friends. My brother Stefan, who had always been my biggest supporter, became a constant presence in my life. We took weekend trips to the Alps, rediscovering the joy of skiing and laughter. My father, ever the wise patriarch, offered advice that stuck with me. Adrian, life doesn't end with betrayal. It begins with resilience. One day, while walking Max along Lake Zurich, I met a woman named Elise. She was a literature professor, smart, kind, and grounded in a way that felt refreshing. Our conversation started casually, discussing books and philosophy, but soon deepened into something more. Elise wasn't just a romantic interest. She became a friend, someone who reminded me of the beauty in simplicity and the power of authenticity. As our relationship blossomed, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't before. Elise didn't just help me heal. She showed me that love could be built on trust, mutual respect, and honesty. She wasn't intimidated by my success or driven by material aspirations. With her, I felt seen for who I truly was. A year after the disastrous family celebration, I hosted another gathering at the villa, this time with a new purpose. The guest list was smaller, more intimate, filled with people who had supported me through the darkest days. Stefan, my father, and even Lydia were there. Elise stood by my side, her presence a quiet yet profound affirmation of how far I'd come. During the toast, I addressed the group. Last year, this home was filled with secrets and lies, but tonight it's filled with truth, love, and resilience. Thank you all for standing by me when I needed it most. Here's to new beginnings. The applause was warm and genuine, and as I looked around the room, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. That night, as the guests departed and the villa grew quiet, I stood on the balcony with Elise. The city lights of Zurich shimmered in the distance, a reminder of life's endless possibilities. "Do you ever regret what happened?" Elise asked softly, her hand intertwined with mine. I thought about it for a moment. "No," I replied. "It hurt, yes, but it taught me something invaluable. Sometimes losing what you thought you wanted is the only way to find what you truly deserve." As Max wagged his tail and the cool breeze brushed against my face, I raised a glass to the night sky. Life had a way of breaking you apart, but it also had a way of putting you back together, stronger, wiser, and more whole than before. Thank you for being a part of this story with me. If it moved you, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Lost Love Mystery. I've noticed many of you who enjoy these stories aren't subscribed yet. By subscribing, you're not just following a channel, you're becoming part of a community that values deep, meaningful storytelling. Let's continue exploring these heartfelt journeys together. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you won't miss our next story.